Hello everyone, it is me, Game Penguin 21, and today, oh boy, looks like it's time to talk about something relevant. I know that the last video was more or less just a rant on everything, because I just didn't feel like, talking about anything having to do with Twitter, but obviously you guys are mainly here for the solid content, so I gotta give you what you want. In any case, what I do like, though, is that this week was actually pretty easy to talk about, because, well, Helldivers 2 released, at least in terms of the week. And yeah, absolutely, this is more of a slower month, but, it's starting to pick back up pretty soon. And then we're going to have way too much salt to talk about. But I have a couple other videos out there. Harmon Smith has released one, as well as an old foe has returned, and seemingly has become a little bit audacious, and wanted to just see who it was. But both of those will have to wait until another day, because for right now, we're going to be talking about Helldivers 2. And for those of you who don't know, Helldivers 2 is a pretty decent third-person shooter-type extraction game, from what I can tell. I haven't played it quite yet. It's been on my list of games that will probably be played at some point when I get the money. And yeah, make fun of me because it's like a $50, $60-ish game. Which is it a 50? Is it a 50 game? I forget. It's cheaper than average, at least in terms of it's not a full-priced $70 game as far as I remember. And it looked nice. It's again. No shade on the game. Looks absolutely fantastic. But, of course, we had to talk about the Sony people and how, well, they are basically taking this as gospel that Sony is God. So, yeah. Of course, before we get into that, a little bit of a shilling. Looking to hit 1K by the end of this year. Making that push. Please like and subscribe and do all that other good stuff that everyone says you should do. More of my music. My new single, Ode of Friday Nights, is actually coming out very soon. Most likely at the beginning of March, because it's a very special track that I found and kind of worked on my own way, and I really do like it. And of course, if you want to, I do stream on Twitch. Most weekends, you're going to have to go to the Twitch for that, as I tend to not make a lot of cross-promotion in that context. But in any case, let's get to some of these tweets. Starting off with KJN Gamer. This more or less isn't console warring, so I just wanted to do this to kind of set the stage here for how big this game is. And quote-unquote big, I mean, it's bigger than average than most other games, because it has reached 100-ish concurrent players on Steam. If I remember the final count correctly, I think it maximized out at 120 plus concurrent players. You would really have to check the numbers with me on that one. So again, double check it in the comments. If it's reached around 200,000, good for them. But the last time that I checked, it was around 110 to 120,000 players, which is a very respectable number for a multiplayer game. But of course, one of the biggest things here is that everyone that was in the PlayStation camp was saying, this is the biggest thing in the world, even though like half of them said this game is bullshit for coming out on, day and date on PC, But, of course, we then have to go with James here with, this is why I said around 110, 120-ish, because this is, again, not seemingly final numbers, where he then says that, Xbox is a nightmare, comparing Helldivers 2, a game that just released, versus Halo Infinite, a game that has been out for a long time and has had a lot of mismanagement from that. And yeah, certainly that's not necessarily an excuse for Helldivers being as good as it is or Halo Infinite being as bad as it is. It's not an excuse, it's just a general critique of how one game's been out for a while, and the main people that have been playing it are the people that have been playing it because they like the game, and Helldivers 2 is just being played by new people. How many of those people will stick around? Who knows? But yeah. Still, though, respectable numbers. Next up, we've got, of course, the Unleashed section, because we have to have an Unleashed section when we're talking about Twitter stuff. So then we got Helldivers 2 is now overtaken freaking COD on Steam. What monsters this game is turning out to be. Sony acquire Arrowhead right now. But I thought that, consolidation and acquiring studios was a bad thing. Was that not the case here? We then have a tweet here as well from earlier, or from a little bit later, with Helldivers 2 is now the 4th most played game on Steam right now. PlayStation has created a gem. Halo Infinite who? Starfield who? Grounded who? Even though I did check this, Grounded has like 15 million players. So, yeah. Congratulations, I guess. With then unleashed to finish off this specific section, Sony Helldivers 2 absolutely decimated Xbox first-party games on Steam in concurrent players. Xbox Palworlds, I beg you to save us from this embarrassment, because our first-party games aren't up for the task, pretty please. Even though, to kind of go on to Excision here, he then basically shows off the one meme of the one dude over celebrating that he got like 3rd place, and these are using like older numbers. So again, this uses like the 80,000 one when people were celebrating like the 80k concurrent players. But there's also 200. This also is the maximum amount of players, not just concurrent player counts. So the maximum number is still a little bit like odd, but yeah. Anyway, next up we got Mr. Hates at 60 FPS, which isn't it funny? A month ago, everybody thought nothing could compete with Palworld, and then Helldivers 2 happened. I bring up those numbers earlier. Yes, Helldivers 2 cannot compete really with Palworld because 1, they're not the same type of genre of game. 2, Helldivers 2 is a newer game and hasn't at all reached the numbers or the sales supposedly of Palworld, because Palworld had sold like 19 million across 2 actual places within 2 weeks. Congratulations. Wonder how you're going to be doing in 2 weeks with the apparent thing that about 220,000 players over both console and PC. From what I understand, that was a number that was being tossed around. Unsure if it's a true number. I just remember seeing it somewhere. But then we got someone else here who then retweets it and says Helldivers 2 is not competition to Palworld, and basically just reiterates what I said here with the 116,000 to around 561, and that's just concurrent players. And Palworld has a 93% versus Helldivers, which still sits at a 73%. Really interesting. So yeah, very cool. Of course, we got to talk about Mr. Good old Japan Hates Xbox, because of course we got to talk about him. Oh boy. He says, can't wait till every single Xbox scumbag fanboy is chased out of this industry. You are not welcome here, with an Xbox going third party. This one's like an older one, when the Xbox third party stuff was kind of going around. And I wanted to highlight this one as well, because Jesus Christ, is this hilarious here. So he says one of the most toxic accounts on X is at Doopy Koopa. Okay. This awful Suxton, I'm very bad at reading right now, I'm sorry, was one of the first to try to get me banned on here when I first started. Sent an army of followers after me, the works. To see my little account surpass this POS is incredible. 1,220 versus 1,020. I win. Kudos to you, dude. I also find it really funny how he says that one of the most toxic accounts is not him, even though his literal tag on Twitter is Japan Hates Xbox. Like, I just do I need to say anything here? Do I need to seriously sit here and make jokes about how fucking projection and shit this is? Do we all understand the concept of the joke? Can I move on? Congratulations, I'm moving on anyway, because you can't really respond to whatever I'm talking about. So, yeah. Next up, we got Mr. Pyro1 with a Helldivers 2 is getting review bombed on Metacritic. Sad face. Which, kind of does suck. Now, I saw the screenshot being passed around as well. There is a couple of them here. But reading through a couple of these, the 0 and the 1 stars one, let's just read through some of these. So we got, this game is made for people who have friends. F Sony for making this gay game. Fellas, is it gay to have friends? Because when you have friends, even just male friends, they have a penis. And therefore, when you, go and show them affection, showing them affection is gay. Playing Halo with the boys, that's pretty gay. What the fuck is that review? Next up, we've got Many82 here. This is still on the same tweet, and I'm still on this one because it's funny. Within one of the worst balances in game history. Probable pay to win via DLC, exactly like the first chapter. Now that one's actually a little bit more nuanced because there supposedly is some pay to win elements in there that you can skip the grind and stuff. I think how Destiny does it, and that's not necessarily pay to win, but it's also getting borderlining on it. I would say it's at the very minimum it borderlines on pay to win. It's more of just pay to skip, but that's in the gray area. Next up, we've got bad game with someone just giving it a 1. Jesus Christ. And finally, this last one here, we got meh, get guns, shoot things, gameplay gets repetitive and the jokes get stale. Enemies are bland insectoids with not enough variation or changes in fight mechanics. Yeah, sure, you can have fun with friends, but that's literally every co-op game. This game will fizzle out in a month if there aren't big updates. And I think that last one actually is more of a genuine criticism. It kind of does seem like that's not necessarily a review bomb. That's just someone who's a little bit upset with the game. They still gave it a 0, so there's a bit of a review bomb. But that last one I don't think fits the mold of the rest of these. Because the other ones you can make some sort of interesting things. Next up, we've got someone who is the good old Xbox shill, which we get a little bit of Xbox salt here, where he says, my part is done, Helldivers 2, where he puts a 0 out overwhelmingly dislike for that, and he actually is proud of that. And someone, I don't even need to make a joke here, because someone else put it here, says, this is such pathetic behavior, which, yeah, to those people who say, oh, you're an Xbox shill, you wouldn't agree with it. It's like, this is just shit behavior. If you're, proud to go out and to essentially zero out a game that you will never play or you will never experience in your life, just because you want to have your own part to be done here, no. Just no, dude. Next up, we've got, of course, the Red Dragon, who's also clowning on this fool, but, we can clown on him too because my spankings just are communist. Let's not finish that sentence. Anyway, the Red Dragon. Xbox fans are bragging about review bombing Helldivers 2. Meanwhile, on Steam, where buyers are verified, they're overwhelmingly positive and continuing to climb along with the numbers. Xbox guys are left playing the waiting game for a business event from Microsoft. By the time this video comes out, that business event will most likely have happened. So yeah, because I usually release these on a Thursday, but I'm recording this on Sunday. So yeah, that business event will most likely have happened already. I'm not covering it until I'm going to give it until maybe a Saturday release, because that's going to be huge. And then I'm going to take a break because Jesus Christ, that's going to be some serious salt content. And yeah, and then we got, of course, a little bit of Xbox salt, because of course we do. And you got to get a little bit of that extra hit here. So other than that other person, we have Anna Asan, I think. I don't know how to... I think that's correct. With an, I am sorry to all PlayStation fans. I know you are so embarrassed by the failure of Helldivers 2, which is not necessarily a failure, but you should blame PlayStation and trash studios like Naughty Dog. They failed to make a decent multiplayer game. They canceled Factions 2. If you were real gamers, you could call their failure out. Don't worry, I will do it for you. Which I tend to agree with the latter half of that. Not with the blaming bad studios like Naughty Dog, even though Naughty Dog does deserve some blame in this context. But PlayStation did fail, for the most part, to make a very decent multiplayer game up until, I would say, Helldivers 2. So I agree with that for the most part, because they've just been pushing back all of these live service games. Like, oh, they're coming. We're gonna come in here. We're gonna get your wallet. But still, at the same time, it's like, if you were real gamers, no. If you can just call out failures and just be a critical thinker, like, that's fine. Just go and do that, because Jesus Christ. So yeah. Anyway, a couple other things here that was actually happening as well is that the Suicide Squad took a very big death blow when they took out the fact that the Batman Arkham Knight player count increased by 51% since the release of the game, the Suicide Squad, which is just the worst task failed. Like, not even successfully, just straight up, you failed, you fucked up. Like, everyone's going back to your older games to show you how much they like those older games. People were also then talking a little bit about, I believe this is Stellar Blade, where it is, Japan is your chance to get into the Stellar Blade hype train, bring this type of feminine female characters again with a glasses emoji, with someone then saying the middle girl, Anya, is a literal child. What did Itaraki mean by this? Where, you can clearly see from the screenshot down there. And then someone says, how the F can you look at something like this and say it's a child? Not even mentioning the character has grown in DOA, Dead or Alive. But it's a fictional pixel. Mock these people eternally. No serious discussion, not debate. Throw them away of fandoms by laughing them 24/365 the only way. And the thing with this is that this whole situation usually comes from the fact that it's become a big deal to look at like younger-ish looking characters in that context and say like, oh, this is a literal child. And it's like, I will say this. There is a big difference between actual lolly stuff and not, there's a blurry line definitely somewhere in there, but it's not as like blurry as certain other things. It's very defined because there is such a thing as a petite body type, and that's one of the biggest things here is that people say like, oh, they look like literal children even though they look like they have a petite, smaller-esque body type. And I will say this as well. This is also a Japanese game, which Japanese beauty standards are very, very, very different from American beauty standards, from what I can tell, just from looking at their culture, looking at the history, looking at everything like that. So their beauty standards are very different. But clearly, this is not the same thing. If you look at a fully grown woman in this context and say, that person looks like a literal child, that's kind of on you for making that assumption in the first place. And you might want to check out a couple of interesting things and delete some files off of your computer. Anyway, that'll about do it for this video of me ranting into a microphone and talking to Twitter for the last while. Probably next week I'm going to be talking more about the actual meltdown that will maybe come from the actual Microsoft event on Monday. So yeah, give me time with that, please. I'm only one person. I can't do this all by myself all the time, so please let me just get something out there. You will get a Saturday video, which is like the extra clip dumps that I have from the finals that I've been sitting on for a while, but pushing it back. But yeah, give me more time, please. But yeah, if you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any way, shape, or form, even though your viewership is always enough, liking and commenting and subscribing is always very, very helpful. If you want to support what it is in other ways as well, I have a Patreon, even though no one's there. I have my Bandcamp, which is always linked down in the description below if you like some of the music that I do here. So yeah, in any case, my name is GamePango21. Thank you all so much for watching, and a peace off